Mahalo nui loa. And of course, that's Hawaiian for a great big welcome to you. And here in New York, I think they're all in the mood to learn some Hawaiian after their newest hero, Benny Agbayani, who hails from Honolulu, Hawaii, hit the game-winning home run last night. There's Benny, who wears number 50 in honor of hailing from the 50th state to join the Union, as did one of his predecessors here with the Mets, Sid Fernandez. So Agbayani, the toast of the town, at least for one night. And of course, they are hoping to meet the Cardinals in St. Louis. Game one of that series would start on Wednesday at Busch Stadium if the Mets win this series, which they're hoping to do today. Dusty Baker, the Giants manager, making some last-minute notations in preparation for today's game. Here is the lineup that he turned in before the game. The Pepsi Giants batting order, it will be Marvin Bernard, only one hit and 10 at-bats in the series in center field. Bill Miller, third base, and he's had great success against Bobby Jones. Barry Bonds in left field. He's never done well against Jones. Jeff Kent at second base for the Giants. It will be Ellis Burks in right field, and Burks has just worn Jones out. J.T. Snow at first base. Rich Aurelia, the native New Yorker, at shortstop. Doug Mirabelli is doing the catching, and Mark Gardner is the pitcher, batting ninth. And on the mound for the New York Mets, he was an All-Star 3 years ago after a great first half. He is from Fresno, California. As have been many outstanding big leaguers from years past, including the great former Met pitcher Tom Seaver. Here's Bobby Jones, 11 wins during the year.
And Bobby Jones finished the year pitching well, and that's why he gets this start. But he's very similar to Mark Gardner. They both change speeds well, and they both have good curveballs. And the key will be who has the best control. If you have control of your curveball today, you'll be able to pitch pretty well, because both of these teams are good fastball hitting teams. And let's take a look at the defense. And there you see the defense. This inner defense is not as good as it was last year for the Mets. But in the outfield now, Perez in right has a lot of speed. So does Peyton. Agbayani not that fast in left field.
And there is Bobby Valentine. Benny Agbayani played for Valentine when Valentine managed the Mets AAA ball club down in Norfolk. So he had a little advance notice that Agbayani could help this ball club, which he has done in each of the last 2 years, by getting his very first postseason home run in a big spot, to say the least, last night.
Well, last year, well, there you take a look at the umpires. Brian Gorman is behind the plate.
Rocky Rowe, Mike DeMuro, Rich Rieker, Terry Kraft, and Jerry Crawford rounding him out.
And this year, Agbayani wasn't even assured of making this ball club, John. When they were in Japan, Bobby Valentine had basically told him if he didn't start driving the ball, he was going to be sent down, because he had options, and they were going to use those options. He hit a grand slam in Tokyo to win the ball game, and that assured him a spot here for this season. Even though he had a good year last year, he was the only guy that had options, and they were having roster problems.
Yeah, they opened the year in Tokyo against the Chicago Cubs, the first two teams ever to play a big league game outside of North America. So here is Marvin Bernard, and one thing the Giants have not done well in this series is get their leadoff men on base. Bernard very aggressively going after that first pitch, and it is 0-1. Bernard only one hit in 10 at-bats plus one walk. In game 2, Calvin Murray against Al Leiter hit leadoff, and he went 1 for 4. So in the series, the Giants leadoff men have a combined on-base average of only 200. Bill Miller on deck. He also has not done much hitting so far. Bernard chasing that high one, which he'll often do, and the count is 0-2.
I said the Giants should be aggressive. I meant be aggressive on the bases and putting pressure on the defense. I didn't mean you had to come out and swing at the first 2 pitches that you see.
So you're blaming yourself then for Marvin here maybe being a little overly aggressive. 0-2 the count. And the curveball in the dirt. Now both of these pitchers today not only hail from Fresno, and they're very close friends. They're golfing buddies. They do workouts together in the offseason. They both went to Fresno State University, but they also possess pretty good curveballs.
And they're another thing they have in common. They both have a foundation together called Step Up to the Plate Foundation, which does a lot of work in the Fresno area.
Bernard chases another high one out into left center. Payton calling off Agbayani. One away. Now Bill Miller will come up. Miller, thus far in the series, has 5 hits in 15 at bats, although he has not walked at all. So Miller has had pretty good success with the bat. Barry Bonds on deck. Miller has 7 hits in 12 lifetime at bats against Bobby Jones, a .583 career average. And that curveball, that's a real slow curveball. Yep. And it is ball 1.
Mark Gardner's curveball is a lot faster and a lot sharper than this. In fact, Jones' curveball reminds me of Juan Marichal, whom I saw before the game today. That big, high, looping curveball.
1-0 the count. And that's off the outside with a changeup. 2-0. Now, I asked J.T. Snow of the Giants before the game about starting at this time of day with the shadows and then the bright background, and he said yesterday that was no problem whatsoever. They were able to see the ball well. 2-0 the count. There's a cloud now covering the sun. That fastball in there for a strike, so it's 2-1.
John, if you're the Giants, you cannot even think about things like that. The background, the pitcher, anything, the weather. Your job is to focus on getting some runs and scoring some runs for your ball club today. That's the only thing you should be focusing on today. And the Giants have to take that a step farther. Yesterday, I think they got a couple of bad calls. One at first base on the double play to Lenny Harris. Barry Bonds, a couple of pitches called. But you can't even think about those things today. You can't let the umpires even enter into your mind. You have to win this game yourself.
Old news. Strike 2 call to Miller. 3-2 now. Bobby Jones had a horrible first half. So bad that on June 10th he was sent down to the minor leagues to get straightened out, and he agreed to it. He said, hey, I had to go and get some things fixed. 3-2 the count. Miller chases ball 4, and Alfonso throws him out. So both Bernard and Miller chasing pitches up and out of the strike zone, and so Barry Bonds will come up with the bases empty and 2 down.
Well, so far Jones has been able to get Bernard on a high fastball, and he gets Bill Miller to swing at a high fastball as well. Miller's more excusable because he did take a couple of pitches to get deep into the count, and he probably didn't want to get called out, but you can't chase pitches.
And that's off the outside.
Ball 1. You have to make a guy like Bobby Jones get you out. Do not help him.
Bonds had hits in his first 2 at bats in game 1 on Wednesday. Only 1 hit in 11 at bats since that time. 3 for 13 overall, as you saw. He has never hit well against Bobby Jones. Only 8 hits in 37 lifetime at bats. The strike, he's working that outside edge, and it is 1 ball and 1 strike. And the 8 for 37, including 1 home run in those 37 at bats.
And 37 at bats is enough that you can have a pattern. You can see a pattern between the pitcher and the batter.
He worked to the inside and did not get the call. 2-1 the count.
And that pattern says it's up to Barry Bonds to make the adjustment, because Jones has already adjusted to what Bonds does. Now it's up to Bonds to adjust back.
Bonds, who had a career record with 49 homers this year and had a great September for home run hitting. Well, he made him go into a 2-strike looking mode there on a 1-strike count, and the count now to Bonds 2-2. And then Bonds off balance and lunging. And you see his regular season numbers, but not so far here in the postseason.
Part of the problem that Barry and any superstar has when they're not hitting well is that they're aware of it because everyone reminds them every day, and sometimes you get a little timid.
And Bonds chases the high one. So all 3 outs in the inning. The Giants going up out of the strike zone, swinging at bad balls. Now the Mets are coming up. Giants nothing. The Mets coming up from Shea Stadium, New York. The clouds covering up the bright sunshine that we'd had moments ago. So now it is overcast and much darker here at Shea Stadium. Here's the Pepsi Mets batting order. Timo Perez in right field. Edgardo Alfonso second base. Mike Piazza hitting third. Robin Ventura hitting fourth at third base. Benny Agbayani in the fifth position as he was last night when he was the hero. Jay Payton in center. Todd Zeile had been slumping for 3 weeks at first base. Mike Bordick at short. And Bobby Jones, the pitcher, batting ninth. And on the mound for the Giants is the 38-year-old veteran right-hander Mark Gardner. And they're asking Gardner to stop this losing streak and keep the Giants alive.
And John, I really admire Mark Gardner for what he has accomplished under adverse conditions. And every year for the last couple of years, he'd get off to a slow start, and everyone would want him taken out of the rotation. And Dusty stuck with him, and he's been rewarded. I feel very comfortable if I'm Dusty with having Mark Gardner on the mound today.
And the Giants, as a team, feel very comfortable with Gardner, who's won a lot of big games for them. Stopped a lot of losing streaks the past several years. Perez takes a called strike after showing bunt. Gardner from Clovis High School in Fresno. And his coach told him that if he ever wanted to play college ball, he better pitch. As the coach told him, you sure can't hit. And sometimes the brutal honesty works out the best for people if they're able to handle it. 0-2 the count to Perez when he went to Fresno State eventually. And there was a great All-American softball pitcher at Fresno by the name of Laurie Romero. And the two pitchers met, they fell in love, and they've been married for a long time. There's a foul back out of play. Laurie, in fact, had more wins and more strikeouts at Fresno State than did Mark Gardner. But it's a well-known story in San Francisco that Laurie Gardner in September of '97 was diagnosed with liver cancer, and eventually she received a liver transplant. Curveball in there, strike three call. And just what you talked about, Joe, a much harder, sharper curve than the one thrown by Bobby Jones.
Well, let's take a look at the Giants defense. The defense has played much better the second half of the season than I thought they were capable of. This is a good defense, and neither of these teams have made any errors in this series, so both teams have played the way they're supposed to play. They have just made all the plays behind their pitchers.
Edgardo Alfonso now, who at this point may really be the anchor for the Mets in this series. It was his 2-run homer that may have saved them in game 2 on Wednesday because of Snow's 3-run home in the bottom of that inning. Medium deep right field. Burks is under it. He's got it. And of course Alfonso drove in the tying run last night. And Edgardo Alfonso always doing well in the infield, but in a series that's had these 2 real tight games, Alfonso's had 2 huge hits.
And I think it was very important for Gardner to get these first 2 hitters, because with Bobby Valentine having the lead, he was going to do things, hit and run, put pressure on the Giants, and I expect him to do that the entire ballgame. Anytime they get runners on to do something, he's going to put pressure on them, and I think that's the way to play. If you're ahead in the series 2-1, put some pressure on the other team.
Now here is Mike Piazza, a longtime nemesis of Gardner. Outside corner for a strike. Piazza had 16 at bats with 6 hits, including 3 home runs. And he homered against Gardner the last time he faced him back in August right here at Shea Stadium. That curveball lifted foul down the right field line. We're talking about Mark Gardner's wife Laurie, who had the liver transplant, and she had another liver transplant in early June of this year, but her body seems to have so far accepted the new liver, and she is healthy enough to be here for this series. She is here at Shea Stadium today, rooting her husband Mark and the Giants along. A fastball, and Gardner would like for that one to have been called a strike. A little bit low on the outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
That was interesting. Gardner started to lean off and walk off, and he kind of put his hand up to the umpire like saying, I'm sorry. That's a kind of a veteran move there, because he knows that he's not supposed to walk off before the umpire makes the call.
1-2 the count. And he tries the curve, misses badly with it. Mirabelli digs it out. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Piazza has had 3 hits and 11 at bats in this series, but no homers, no RBIs. And last year in the league championship series, Piazza hit 167 against the Braves, 182 in the division series last year against Arizona. So all of the things you were talking about, Joe, with Barry Bonds also reflected in Mike Piazza's postseasons.
Not to make excuses, but Mike Piazza being a catcher, by the end of the season, he's always worn down a little bit. I mean, that's the nature of the position. So he's not at his best at the end of the season because it just catching takes its toll on your body over the course of the season, and he catches so many games, and he's always the focus of the other team's defense against the Mets. He's the guy that they always pitch tough to. He's the guy that they try to keep from beating them.
3-2 the count, and he walks it. So he had him at 0-2, thought he had him struck out, and still had the advantage on him. Missed with a couple of curves, and then finally missed with the fastball. So Piazza gets the walk, and the batter will be Robin Ventura. Ventura has not done much so far in this series. 1 hit in 12 at bats, and that's coming off his worst season, hitting only .232 in the regular year, but always a threat. 24 regular season home runs. There's a shot deep into right, and that one is gone. It hits the bottom of the scoreboard. A 2-run homer for Ventura, and the Mets are out in front.
One thing a smart hitter will always do, if you walk the guy in front of him, he's going to sit on a fastball in the next pitch because he thinks you want to try to get ahead after walking the hitter in front of him. And he gets a fastball and he hits it over the wall. Not exactly where Mark wanted to throw it.
And here is Agbayani, and the fans on their feet for Agbayani as if they weren't quite done cheering for him from last night. Then he tried to do it again right there, but he pops it up. Miller in foul ground, and that ends the inning. But a 2-out walk to Piazza, and then a first pitch big fly by Robin Ventura. The Mets 2, the Giants nothing as we start the second inning now at Shea Stadium, New York. I'm John Miller with Joe Morgan. So for Ventura, it had been a terrible struggle for the 6 months of the season and the few days of the postseason, but I'm sure a burden has been lifted from his shoulders now after clobbering a long home run. Now Jeff Kent, the Giants RBI leader. Bobby Jones, and that's a strike on the outside.
And we've always talked about, you know, Barry Bonds and how he has not hit in the postseason, but I mean, Jeff Kent is in the running for the MVP award, so a lot of the pressure has to fall on him as well. He's had a few base hits, but he has not driven in any runs.
The second, there is Alfonso. 1 away.
Kent has 1 run batted in the series. He was hitting he was hitting well. He had 5 hits and 13 at bats. But these are the guys that have to drive in runs and produce runs for you.
So Kent is gone, and now Ellis Burks. Burks, who has 4 RBIs in the series, including 3 on one swing of his bat in game 1. 3 for 10 all told. And Burks has worn out Bobby Jones. A .438 average against him. Fastball too high. 7 hits in 16 at bats, including a double, a triple, and 4 home runs. 4 homers in 16 at bats against Jones. And a fan brought his glove and made the catch.
Nice catch.
And he's pretty cool about it.
Yeah, sign him up.
The moment arrived as the rest of the people were getting out of harm's way down there. Too far into Burks. 2-1 the count. JT Snow on deck. 2-0. The Mets are in front. Mets have not had too many leads in this series, although they jumped ahead 2-0 against the Giants in the second in San Francisco on Thursday. Inside to Burks. 3-1. JT Snow is on deck. And a pretty good slider. Burks bouncing it foul. 3-2 the count. The hole, backhanded by Border. He got it. 5 in a row retired by Bobby Jones. Now in the first in the Mets first inning, Mike Gardner retired 2 hitters, had an 0-2 count on Mike Piazza, and almost started to head toward the dugout there, Joe.
And that's the time when he apologized to the umpire because he thought it was strike 3. But he apologized because, you know, he knows he's not supposed to do that. But that was a pretty good pitch.
2-0, nobody on. Here's Snow showing bunt and taking a called strike. Jones came rushing off the mound to cover up on that third base side. Bobby Jones out of Fresno High School. He's a great pitcher at Fresno State University. An All-American there. Too high to Snow. 1 ball and 1 strike. But it's become a gray day right here at Shea Stadium. Off in the distance beyond the ballpark, we can see blue skies and scattered clouds. But right here, there is no sunshine. This is an October look for baseball. This is the way it's supposed to look in October.
Yeah, it's a World Series type atmosphere. The way it was when I was growing up watching the World Series, because they were playing the World Series this time of the year.
It looked like this, and it sounded like Mel Allen. And for a long time there in the 50s, it was all in New York. The Subway Series seemed to be an annual thing, either the Yankees and the Giants or the Yankees and the Dodgers. There's the subway station close by here at Shea. You take the 7 train to get over here. Right to Zeal. 2 perfect innings for Bobby Jones. The Mets leading 2-0. And now the 6th place hitter, Jay Payton, will lead it off. Robin Ventura, a 2-run first inning homer. His 2nd playoff home run. Is the pitch now to Payton. And Joe, do you recall when he hit his last one?
Yeah, well, it was in the postseason last year, the divisional series against the Atlanta Braves.
Now we would all think that,
yeah,
but that's not correct.
Well, then he has more than one.
You must be talking about his grand slam single.
Good point. Yeah, it was a single.
You don't get credit for a home run, even if it clears the wall, if you don't round the bases.
Good point. And
Todd Pratt intercepted him in one of the most memorable of all postseason homers that wasn't a homer. I mean, we all know he hit a home run last year.
It was supposed to be. It was a grand slam that wasn't a grand slam.
Back to Gardner. Quick reactions, enabling him to throw out Payton, and there is one away. This was the first inning homer. Was actually his first in 7 years. The first time that he actually got credit for hitting one. He hit one as a member of the White Sox back in 1993. And one of his teammates that day, when he was a member of the White Sox, is the man whose head he hit the ball over today, Ellis Burks. They were both White Sox back in 1993. Here is Todd Zeal now. There's Ellis. Big chop to third. Miller to his left. And Zeal is retired. 2 men gone. And the batter will be Mike Bordick. Now, if you're the Giants and everything's riding on this day, and now you fall immediately behind, does the anxiety level go up at that point?
Sometimes I think it's best that it happens right away, so that now you have to become aggressive. Now you have to make something happen, rather than go along 5 or 6 innings in a 0-0 ball game, and all of a sudden they put 2 runs up there on the board. I think it's good if you're the Giants and you're going to get behind, you get behind early, because it'll force you to have a little more anxiety and have you to be a little more focused on making sure that you get some runs back right away.
There's ball 1 to Bordick. Bordick 2 hits and 9 at bats in the series.
There's already a sense of urgency because you're down 2 games to 1, but this just heightens it a little bit more. But the other thing you can't do though is panic, because you have 21 outs left, and you just make good use of those 21 outs.
2-0 the count. Toward the middle. Aurelia gets it. He got a tough hop, double clutched, and still throws out Bordick. That ball tried to hop over his glove, but he reacted to it. A 7-pitch inning for Gardner. We move on to the 3rd inning. Aurelia coming up. 2-0 Mets. Mets lead the Giants 2-0 as we go to the 3rd inning. Sonny Jackson, the Giants' third base coach, wearing a mic, and here's what he said when the Giants came in the dugout.
Let's go now. Let's go, Gardy. Need base runner, babe. Hunt up. Let's go now. Let's swing the bats. Hit 3 of them hard that inning. Let's go.
And that's the Sonny Jackson that I know. Sonny Jackson, we came up through the minor leagues together, as you were talking about Bobby Jones and Gardner. Sonny and I started in Moultrie, Georgia together. We played all the way up through the major leagues together. And Sonny, the good point he made there was you hit 3 balls hard. That's positive reinforcement. That's more than just saying let's go, let's go. That's some reinforcement of what you did proper in the 1st inning.
Rich Aurelia, the hitter, and that's ball 1 too high.
We've seen the Giants hit the ball hard, as Sonny said there, a couple of times, but patience on high pitches, just laying off the high pitches and attacking the regular ones is what they're going to have to do.
Aurelia, it looked like he tried to launch that one, but instead hits a high pop-up back in amongst the spectators. 1 ball and 1 strike. Sonny Jackson, you know, I remember that you guys came up together. I remember when you were both with Houston, both starting out, both stealing bases. I always thought Sonny was better than you in those days.
I'm being honest with you, everyone did, including me. Hey, Sonny was a very good player. And I tell you what, he still has the best hands of anybody I've ever seen.
No, and he is still in great
a ground ball.
He's in great shape still.
You trying to say I'm not?
No.
Oh, okay, good. I thought you were comparing me to Sonny Jackson before.
But he's in great shape.
Oh, okay.
He looks like he can still steal a base.
He probably could.
Not that you couldn't.
No, I can't.
It's not related to you.
No, I will answer that one for you. I can't. But Sonny had such great hands. I mean, that's the thing that I remember the most is that, I mean, ground balls, you talk about tough hops, they were easy for him. He had such soft hands, you know.
No, you're in great shape, though. You also.
Okay, good.
Hawk foul and back out of play. 2-2 the count.
But they're looking at the Giants here, they're still going in from the high fastball. But I think one of the reasons they swing at Bobby Jones' high fastball because it's not real fast. And you see it, so you think that you can hit it, but it seems to be just a little bit out of their range. If a guy's throwing 95 miles an hour, you don't go up there trying to hit that pitch. But because he's not throwing that hard, they feel like they can get to it.
2-2 the count. Back out of play.
But they're not getting to it. He's got movement up there, and they're fouling him back or grounding out.
Now, last night, the Giants left 16 men on base and struck out 17 times in that 13-inning game. Now, this, during the regular season, was one of the most prolific offenses in all of Major League Baseball. They averaged 5.7 runs a game, scoring over 900 runs. Curveball. That fooled him. And Zeal takes it. 7 in a row retired by Bobby Jones.
Well, we talked about guys going up out of the strike zone. It starts with Bernard in the 1st inning. That's a high fastball. He pops it up. Bill Miller on a 3-2 pitch. He grounds, gets on top of it, and Barry strikes out on a high pitch. John, one of the things I want to make point is you mentioned the fact that the Giants had scored a lot of runs and one of the best offenses in the league. And that's true, but what happens is that's against the league. That's against mediocre pitching, that's against good pitching, that's against poor pitching. What you have now is the best teams left. So you're going to get pretty good pitching on all these teams that are left. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in the playoffs. And when you face the Mets, you're getting good pitching, just like when you face the Giants, you're getting good pitching. So you do not expect to have the same offensive numbers in the postseason that you have during the regular season, because you're playing against the best teams that are left, and that usually means that they're going to hold you down a little bit. But it works both ways. The Giants are holding the Mets probably below their average too for the year. So that's the way the game is played.
The Giants have actually outscored the Mets in this series 11-9, or had before this game. In the first 3 games, and yet the Mets are leading the series, and they lead this game 2-0 as we play the 3rd inning. And it's a 1-ball 2-strike count to Mirabelli. 1 out, nobody on. Bobby Jones has received permission from the umpires to bring his hand to his mouth while on the mound. Strike 3 call. Mirabelli never swung the bat. 2 down.
Well, let's take a look at Mike Piazza as he sets up toward the outside corner.
Right there.
And he did move it just a little bit, John. Watch, let's see where this is. You can see Mike Piazza move his glove just a little bit to bring it back over the plate. But I'm from the old school in that with 2 strikes, if the pitch is close, you're supposed to hack.
Mark Gardner hacking. 0-1 the count. Gardner, 5 hits in 43 at-bats during the regular year, echoing the sentiments expressed to him so many years ago by his high school baseball coach, who told him, "You can't hit." 0-1 the count. Just off the outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. 2-0. The Mets are leading. Later tonight, both teams in the Giants predicament out in Oakland, the Yankees and the Athletics. The loser goes home. At the knees for a strike. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Gardner. So Jones is 1 strike away from completing his first trip through the Giants batting order perfectly. Marvin Bernard, the only Giant to have hit a ball out of the infield so far. And the curveball. He just did. No, he's out.
Well, he shouldn't be out. He tagged it with the ball in his other hand. And secondly, I'm not so sure he didn't get a piece of that.
Mets 2, Giants nothing. Mike Piazza back in the dugout.
Well, here's the pitch. Now, Gardner thinks he fouled it. So does Mike Piazza.
2 high, ball 1 to Bobby Jones.
Now, here's Piazza. He's up.
That's a called strike. 1 ball and 1 strike, the count to Jones. And it's 1-2 now to Bobby Jones. We're going to go back after Jones at bat here and show you the whole sequence. Bobby Jones, we mentioned Gardner not much of a hitter. Jones, 2 hits in 44 at bats this year. And there is 1 away. So Joe, make that point again, will you?
All right, let's take a look here. Now, Mike Piazza thinks that he fouled the ball. So does Mark Gardner. So he swings. Mark Gardner doesn't run away. Piazza hits his glove thinking, well, I didn't catch the foul tip. Now, Steve Gardner's standing there waiting for another at bat. Now, he tags him, but the ball's in his other hand. He has the ball in his right hand. He tags Gardner with the glove. That was an ugly sequence right there because both Piazza and Gardner thought he fouled it and that Piazza didn't hang on to it.
Well,
but the only opinion that counts is that of Brian Gorman.
If Piazza did not think that he had fouled it, he would have picked that ball up out of the dirt and tagged him immediately. That's the play. And Perez pops it up. Snow and foul ground, and Perez is quickly gone. He struck out his first time. 2 down, nobody on for the Mets. And Edgardo Alfonso coming up. Now we're talking about all of that. So Alfonso comes to the plate and Piazza goes out on deck. Not that this maybe had the same impact as if Barry Bonds had been at the plate with an argument about a foul tip.
Yeah, but it's still, you're entitled to 27 outs, and you should be able to get them. It doesn't matter whether the pitcher's hitting or Barry Bonds is hitting. Everything should be the same. You have 27 outs. You're entitled to 27 outs. That's what the rule book says.
And the breaking ball more like a slider from Gardner, and it's 0-1 to Alfonso. Alfonso only 1 hit in his career against Gardner, but it was a home run in this ballpark back in August. 1 hit in 13 career at bats against Gardner. Barry Bonds right on the edge of the sun. And is Bernard out in center field. Curveball low and outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
There's a center field backdrop, which is the batter's eye, and you can see it's definitely in the sun, and the batter's box in the shadows.
He swung at it. Strike 3. The plate umpire Gorman himself making the call. So another quick inning for Gardner, who's retired 7 in a row. Top of the order, Bernard Miller and Barry Bonds coming up. Mets 2, Giants nothing. Mets leading the best-of-5 series 2-1. Top of the order for the Giants as we go to the 4th inning. Bobby Jones, who has not yet allowed a base runner, facing Marvin Bernard. He bunts it down off the plate. Piazza in fair ground, throws him out.
I think that was a good idea by Bernard. He just needed to get it down the third base line a little bit more. It bounced right out off the plate and up to Mike Piazza. Now he squares around. Piazza still doesn't come out, but the ball bounces right off the plate and up to Piazza. If it bounces and hits the ground, he probably would have been safe, but it bounced right off the home plate. Piazza took it and threw him out. But again, I think it was a good idea. You have to try to make something happen.
Now Bill Miller. Miller grounded a second, his first time. That's ball 1. 10 in a row retired by Bobby Jones. Giants have been trying to get something going these last 2 days at Shea without much success. Only 2 runs in 13 innings last night. A strike on the outside with a changeup. 1 ball and 1 strike to Bill Miller. Giants looking for any edge they can get, any added help they can get, including the psychic variety. High and tight to Miller. 2-1 the count, including some of their past greats. And some are here today. Barry Bonds, who grew up a Giant. His dad, Bobby Bonds, was a Giant star with Willie Mays. Willie Mays is his godfather. Slider too low. 3-1 now to Miller. And some Giant greats from the Willie Mays era also in attendance today, trying to lend their support to the Giants' cause, including Orlando Cepeda and Juan Marichal. 3-2. There's the baby bull with the hat and wearing the sunglasses, the Dominican dandy they used to call him, Juan Marichal, one of the great pitchers in the game. Back onto the screen. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Well, Bill Miller has been able to take Bobby Jones to 3-ball, 2-strike count, both at bats, and he fouled it off. I mean, his approach is good. He's trying to get on base in front of Barry Bonds and Jeff Kent.
Miller grounded out to second his first time. Only 1 hit in the game, but it was a 2-run homer by Ventura. Seals got it. He'll take it himself. Out number 2. And now Bonds again with the bases empty and 2 down.
Well, this is Barry's first at bat. First pitch fastball. Second pitch fastball for a strike over the outside corner. Fastball up and in. I don't know what this pitch was, but Barry swung at it like it was 2 strikes. Then he chased the high fastball out of the strike zone. He made Bonds go defensive with 1 strike rather than normally when you do that with 2 strikes.
Slider too low. 1 ball, no strikes to Barry Bonds.
But Barry, like all hitters who are struggling and hear about it from the media, it's always in the back of their mind. You always try to do maybe a little more than you should.
Changed up, and I'm wondering if that was the pitch that he made him look bad on with 1 strike the first time, Joe.
Well, that swing right there is, he was just completely fooled. He's way out in front. Look at it, he doesn't even rotate his hips. He's just way out in front. I mean, he was completely fooled, so that's okay. He's lucky he didn't hit the ball.
1 ball, 1 strike, the count to Bonds. Inside with a fastball. 2-1 the count.
When you make a bad swing, you just hope that you do not hit it unless you have 2 strikes and you want to foul it off. But you do not want to put the ball in play with your secondary swing.
The outfield deep and around toward right. The infield swung way around toward first. Got the call there in the borderline pitch, and Bonds is not happy about it. 2-2 the count.
Well, Bobby Jones is moving the ball in and out and up and down on Barry.
Two down, nobody on. Jeff Kent would be next. Strike three called. And he's got Bonds totally flummoxed, swinging at a high one out of the zone the first time, looking at a strike this time. Shea Stadium, New York, Mets 2, Giants nothing. Last of the fourth inning now. For those of you expecting to see the senior PGA golf, it's being shown right now over on ESPN 2. It's the Transamerica from Silverado Resort in Napa. Over on ESPN 2, and here's the current leaderboard. Hugh Bayaki, 13 under. Jim Thorpe, 12 under. Transamerica over on ESPN 2 right now, if that's what you're looking for. Here is Mike Piazza, because this is obviously not golf. This is not a game where we talk about the rough and the green. We're talking hardball. Mike Piazza with a quick 0-2 count now as he faces Gardner. He walked his first time, but first fell behind in the count 0-2, and then looked at a pitch that on another day might have well been called strike three. Instead called the ball. Gardner ended up walking him, and on the next pitch Robin Ventura hit a 2-run homer. That's the only hit of the game.
Gardner's actually throwing really well. He's throwing, in my opinion, you know, about as well as he can. He just made that one mistake, and I don't know if it was a mistake. What happened, you have to give Robin Ventura a lot of credit. He walked Piazza and he just sit on the fastball. He got the fastball and he hit it out of the ballpark. He could have popped it up. He could have fouled it back. So not necessarily a bad pitch. Just Piazza, Ventura took advantage of it.
High in the air in the right center field. Playable. Near the warning track for Burks. One gone. Robin Ventura. He's the man so far, and here's what he did back in the first.
Well, if you're going to be critical, the ball is pretty much in the middle of the plate, belt high, but it looked like it was moving away a little bit. But Ventura hit it out of the ballpark. And Ventura has not been healthy the entire year. He had off-season surgery on his left shoulder, and he's actually struggled to have the type of season that he had last year. So that's part of the problem with Ventura, but he should be okay next year. He's been getting stronger.
Well, he got that first pitch fastball. This time a first pitch curveball from Gardner, but he took it for ball one. Now ball two, too low. Benny Agbayani is on deck. There's Benny. In the dirt for a ball, 3-0. Benny Agbayani, the Hawaiian Hammer, on deck.
Well, you have to watch this pitch because it's 3-0, and I guarantee you Ventura has a green light. So make sure you have to make a good pitch.
And it's ball four. So that will bring up the smoking Samoan, Benny Agbayani. Here's last night.
Well, he got up on a high fastball.
From Aaron Foltz. Hawaiian punch. Benny's favorite, he says, is the Hawaiian Hammer or the Hawaiian Nightmare out of Hawaii Pacific University. Still has the school record for home runs and RBI in a single season. He's a big guy, but always was a base stealer. Agbayani takes a called strike. Only a 15% body fat on that big frame. As Benny has said, he doesn't eat junk, Joe. He eats real food. He just eats a lot of it. One strike to count. That is just foul. He looked pretty quick on that one.
And Gardner very surprised at that. He was just looked like he was trying to move him off the plate. He threw him a curveball for a strike. He wanted to go up and in with a fastball, and it is up and in, but Benny hammers it just foul. Goes outside the bag.
Benny likes music, and he likes Hawaiian music as well. Some of his favorite artists. Israel Kamoaka, Viva Oli, Kapena Palolo, the Ka'u Crater Boys. I know you're kind of partial to them yourself, Joe. The brothers Casimiro, Roland and Robert. His first job as a kid when he was 12 years old was delivering the Honolulu Star Bulletin. He probably delivered one to you when you were over there on vacation one time. 1-2 the count to the Hawaiian Nightmare. And right now he continues to be the Giants' worst nightmare. Base hit for Benny. Ventura stops at second. And the Mets with a threat now in the 4th inning, already leading 2-0.
That's a surprising pitch to me because he got ahead of him, and Benny has been hammering the fastball, and yet he gets another fastball. And Gardner's best pitch, his out pitch, is a good curveball. And Benny lines it back through the middle for a base hit. When a guy is right on the fastball as Benny is, and the way he hit it last night, you have to try other pitches. You can't. He's going to hit the fastball. You better try some curveballs and changeups. He started him with a curveball, but he didn't try to finish him with a curveball.
So now Jay Payton, he drove in the winning run in Game 2 in the extra inning. Game 2 where the Mets tied this series. Fastball called a strike, and it's 0-1. Payton hit a comebacker his first time in this game. Payton with 2 hits in 14 at bats, and that's one thing that's been different. Guys like Agbayani and Payton have come to the fore for the Mets.
Timo Perez.
Yeah. And for the Giants, that really has not been the case. They continue to wait for Bonds, Kent, or Burks, or Snow to deliver the big runs. 1 ball and 1 strike. And the Mets, I mean, these tight postseason games the last 2 years, that's been the Mets stock in trade. Starting with Game 4 last year in the NLCS against the Braves. The Mets won 3-2. John Olerud brought them from behind with a 2-run single in the last of the 8th inning in this ballpark. Then that epic 15-inning game that he swing.
Yes.
The plate umpire Gorman made the call himself. Robin Ventura in that 15-inning game hit what we thought was a grand slam. Instead it proved to be a single. And the 10-inning game in San Francisco Thursday, the 13-inning game here last night. One and 2. Curveball, he just got a piece of it.
That's a nasty curveball, and that's the one I expected him to throw to Agbayani, and he didn't throw it. And Payton lucky to get a piece of that. This curveball starts in the strike zone and then just dives out. And it's diving, but he's lucky enough to get a piece of it, so he stays alive.
Todd Zeile on deck.
But Jay Payton has really done a great job for the Mets. In fact, you know, he's one of the big contenders for Rookie of the Year because he has done such a great job with this ball club, playing a tough position, center field, gotten a lot of key hits.
High and tight with a fastball. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
That's actually the pitch he was trying to throw to Agbayani on the second pitch, and Agbayani pulled it foul. He just wanted to keep him from leaning out on the curveball.
So you think he set him up for the curveball?
Yeah,
here?
well, he should be, but with 2 balls and 2 strikes, he may not want to go 3-2, so he needs to make something happen right here.
Mirabelli drops the sign. 2 on, 1 out. He goes to the inside with a fastball and got him looking.
And that's a good pitch. He didn't want to risk throwing a curveball and go 3-2, because if he goes 3-2, I guarantee you Bobby Valentine would have put the runners in motion.
Number 9.
So you have to make something happen 2-2. And it's a fastball. And Brian Gorman says strike 3. Jay Payton acts surprised, but I don't think he really was.
I mean, was he thinking curveball?
Well, he probably was. But again, I think Gardner would have wanted to throw him a curveball, but he realized he doesn't want to go 3-2.
Gardner's in a jam here, and here's a long-time RBI man Todd Zeile. He's been struggling since mid-September this year. 0-1 the count. Fastball at the knees. Zeile grounded out to third his first time. Zeile has only been hitting about 170 since mid-September. Hence, in last night's lineup and again today, he has been moved down to the 7th position. And Zeile has not done much in this series. 1 for 12. Toward the middle. Kent gets it from his knee. Throws him out. And that may be the single area of Kent's greatest improvement as a second baseman. He made plays like that over and over again in the regular year. The inning is ended. Kent will be coming up. 2-0 Mets.
And the Giants need to start making something happen, because as I said before, the longer this game goes with a tied or them even being behind, the more pressure will fall on the Giants and the more relaxed the Mets will become.
Jeff Kent grounded out to second his first time. Change up too low. The Giants have not had a base runner. 12 up, 12 down. And only one batter has even hit the ball to the outfield. That was the first batter of the game, Marvin Bernard. Jones has had 4 strikeouts, including Barry Bonds twice. That is foul on the third base side.
And that was a good sinking fastball right there. It looked like a pretty good pitch to hit, and all of a sudden the bottom fell out. Jeff Kent asked to look at that ball, because this pitch here started, looks like it's a good pitch to hit, and look at that, just the bottom fell out of it. See, it's up, and then all of a sudden it just goes straight down.
From Mascam being warned by Mike Piazza, and the umpire did throw that baseball out of play. Burks and Snow to follow. Down the left field line, into the corner. This one is foul. So Kent almost hit one out of here. 338 feet to that left field foul pole, but he could not make it stay fair.
Well, actually, it's about 4 or 5 feet foul once it hits the pole. But it looked like it might stay there for a long time. Then all of a sudden it just started hooking.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Kent. Bobby Jones, who was so terrible early in the season that he went to the minor leagues for a while. But when he came back from the minors in late June, his record from that point on was 10-3. This is his first postseason game. Kent over the head of Ventura, down the line. An extra base hit coming up for Kent. Albiani finally digs it out of the corner, and Kent at the big turn at second puts the brakes on and holds, and that is the Giants' first hit of this game.
And that's really good hitting there by Jeff Kent. Once he hits the ball foul, he doesn't look for a fastball, but he comes back with another fastball inside, and Kent is able to hammer it. Normally a guy hits the ball off the wall, you don't expect him to come back with the same pitch, but he did, and Kent was ready for it.
Kent with his first extra base hit of the series, although he is now 6 for 15 overall against his old team. Used to be with the Mets. Here is Ellis Burks. He grounded a short his first time.
And this is a situation where I'm sure Dusty has talked to Ellis and the other players over the course of the season to decide whether this is the kind of situation he wants them to take a shot to right field or not. Sometimes you do not want your sluggers to take that shot to right field. But it's early enough in the game that if you get on the board, you can't always get them all back at once.
Although Burks would be their best shot to get them all back at once. Ellis with 4 home runs in 17 career at bats against Bobby Jones, including his earlier at bat today. Kent at second. Went to right field, deep, playable for Perez on the warning track. Kent tags up, and he'll move over to third.
Most managers will say, I don't want my big guys taking a shot to right field, or doing that next chase. But Ellis Burks hits the ball right center to left center anyway. So it's okay for him to take a shot. He almost took a big shot, but Now at least you have a runner at third, and if JT Snow can put the ball in play without, you know, on the ground or in the air to right in the outfield, you get back in this ball game.
So this is important for them to get this run.
Well,
home.
it's important because then you come within one swing of tying the game all the time. You do not have to have anyone on base. Makes it a little tougher to pitch.
The middle infielders are deep. Slider inside to Snow. Snow had the hardest hit ball through the first 4 innings for the Giants. I mean, probably the only hard hit ball in the first 4 innings, and it was a line shot right to Todd Zeile at first. In the dirt with a changeup. 2-0 the count.
And my point is, you see Bobby Jones pitching a little differently now. He's trying to throw the ball down and make sure that JT Snow does not hit the ball in the air and get the runner home. He's trying to make him hit the ball on the ground, preferably back to himself. But at least you put him under a little pressure when you get the runner at third base.
The Mets would be willing to give up a run here. They don't have the infield playing in with a 2-run lead. We're in the 5th. Now it is 3-0 to JT. Rich Aurelia, a right-handed hitter, is on deck, but one with power.
And Sonny Jackson relaying the sign to JT. JT wants to hit, because anytime you want to hit, you step out and let the manager know you want to hit, and you look down real hard at the third base coach.
So you mean there are signals going both ways?
Yes, because first of all, a lot of times guys standing in the batter's box, he just looks up. You know, that's just saying, okay, if you want me to hit, I'll hit. But when you really want to hit, you step out and you stare down the third base coach. That lets the manager know that you really want to hit this pitch.
But you mean, like, I feel real confident that I can do something big with this next pitch?
And I want to be the guy. You're telling the manager you want to be the guy.
3-0. 3-1 now.
Dusty wasn't buying it.
Well, JT's only had 1 hit in 6 career at-bats against Bobby Jones.
Well, he hadn't hit many 3-0 pitches, I bet.
So maybe he's given him 3-0 in the past and hadn't liked what he's the results. 3-1 the count. Too low. Very close on the outside, but the ball.
There's another runner on base now, but if I'm Dusty Baker, I wanted JT Snow to put the ball in play as we take a look at this last pitch. And it is clearly low. But if I wanted him to put the ball in play, because that would assure me of getting a run. Now if Rich Aurelia hits a ground ball, you don't get anything.
Yeah.
So that's the reason I say I let JT Snow swing 3-0 there, because we've got to get on the board. And now you're in danger of, if a ground ball is a shorter second, you don't get anything.
Aurelia grounded into 15 double plays in the regular season, and he's never had a hit against Jones. A wild swing at the big curveball.
And I think Jones realized that too, that JT Snow was up there. He didn't try to walk him intentionally, but he was trying to get him to hit his pitch, trying to get him to go out of the strike zone, or sinkers right on the edge or right knee high. So Jones knew exactly what he was doing.
Well, now, looking at Rich Aurelia on that swing, I mean, what does that tell you if a guy is swinging and it's a big first pitch curveball? 0-1 the count, and the double bluff there by Bobby Jones.
Probably tells you that Rich Aurelia was looking for a curveball first pitch. So he got the curveball and he swung at it. The danger here is if he throws you a good curveball, you're going to hit the top of it, or he throws you a good sinker. That's the danger.
Strike 2 call. So really quickly in the hole. I tell you what, that first pitch curveball was not a pitch to hit. That was like a 2-strike curveball, not a get-it-in curveball.
Well, Aurelia thought it was off the plate outside.
Well, the hitter's a little confused now. I mean, Snow took one that was a lot better than that one for ball 4. 0-2 the count. 2 on, 1 out. Tried to sneak it by on the outside again. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
That's a very good, smart pitch there by Bobby Jones. He just got a call out there, so Aurelia, he thinks, well, if he throws out there again, I have to swing at it. And he threw it out there just a little more off the plate, so that's a good 0-2 pitch.
Kent at third, Snow at first, 1 out. curveball. And he managed to get a piece of it. That might have hit the dirt had he not first hit it.
Well, here's a curveball again, and it's a ball way down the way, but with 2 strikes and you know it's a curveball, you go after it. You will chase more curveballs breaking down in the dirt than you will fastballs like that.
Aurelia, 20 homers, 79 RBIs in the regular season. Mirabelli, the man on deck, hit only 230. And 2 base runners on. High in the air. Fairly shallow left. Kent is tagging. And he is bluffing. Right to Ventura. So Aurelia unable to get the runner home from third. And the pressure mounts on the Giants.
Well, it's a pretty shallow fly ball, and Agbayani does a good job of keeping his throw down so Ventura can cut it. That keeps J.T. Snow from taking advantage of it and going to third base. Now it looks a little better if J.T. would have swung at that 3-0 pitch, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, even the 3-1 pitch
just hit the ground ball.
I mean, he took the walk
in play.
He took the walk in 3-1, and he swung at it. The most likely result would have been a ground ball. Because that pitch was down. Now Mirabelli, but now they need a hit. 1 ball to no strikes. So tactically, Jones was not really overly worried about walking Snow. Well, because he got 2 right-handed hitters to follow him who've never hit him.
Well, he was trying to just make perfect pitches, and if JT swung at him or took him, whatever happened, he was comfortable with that.
2 on, 2 out. 2-0. Mirabelli, who often catches when Gardner pitches. Escalea, the Giants' other catcher, always pitches when Livan Hernandez pitches. Livan would go tomorrow if this series moves back to San Francisco. But right now the Mets lead this game 2-0 in the 5th. The Giants are their first opportunity to score of the day. Their only scoring opportunity. There's Livan sitting in front of the Giants managing partner Peter McGowan right behind in the turtleneck. For the first time now the Mets bullpen gets busy. 2-0 to Mirabelli. He struck out his first time. And 3-0, but again, keep in mind here, the pitcher, Gardner, is on deck. There's Glendon Rush. He is the only one of the Mets bullpenners who did not get in the game last night. And now 3-1. Gardner up in the on-deck circle, but the Giants bullpen is quiet. So Dusty Baker, I'm sure, would like to see Mirabelli knock in a run here. And he walks. But again, it's a walk that you would figure Jones was not overly worried about giving up. With Gardner coming up.
Well, you never want to walk the bases loaded, but you're right. He wasn't going to give in to Mirabelli once he missed with the first couple of pitches. He wasn't going to throw him a fastball down the middle that he could hit. Although he threw a 3-0 fastball for a strike. And my contention is still that I'd rather have one of those guys swinging the bat 3-0 than having Mark Gardner swinging with the bases loaded. And that's what we've come to in this inning now.
So can't let off the inning with a double. Now there to score, it's Gardner himself who will have to do it. And Jones comes right after him after he saw all those pitches right on the outside, right off the outside. And he comes right after Gardner, right down the middle. And he's ahead of him 0-1. Gardner struck out swinging his first time.
I think it's too early in the ball game for Dusty to pinch hit for Gardner because his bullpen is already depleted from last night's 13-inning ball game. You don't want to go to the bullpen this early. Although I think, if his bullpen was okay, you might see a pinch hitter here for Gardner instead of letting him hit. But because of the fact that they used so many pitchers last night and he wants it's just depleted. You do not want to go to the bullpen early. But the Mets are in a similar situation.
High in the air. Alfonso in shallow right. And the Giants have left them loaded. Shea Stadium in New York, New York. And the New York Mets trying to advance to a date with the St. Louis Cardinals at Busch Stadium on Wednesday. And they lead the game 2-0. A 2-run first inning homer by Robin Ventura. Mark Gardner back to work now. Trying to hold the line here. The Giants had a great chance to score there.
At least one run. That's what you want. That's all you need right there.
Their only chance to score, but they let it go by. And although it was Aurelia who was unable to get Kent home from third with his fly ball, as Joe's been pointing out, it was also Snow who walked who didn't get him home. Aurelia hurries and gets it. One away. Alvaro Martinez standing by downstairs.
Yes, John, we're joined by Laurie Gardner. Laurie, it's his first postseason appearance today. How was he this morning? How does he usually take a pressure situation like this?
No, he usually stays about the same. He's pretty even keel. And we had a really good breakfast, and he was calm and cool. So we had a good morning.
Now, you're also very close with the Joneses. You've had them over for dinner. You're very close to them. And you both played at Fresno State. You played softball. He pitched. Bobby pitched. How is it today? I mean, do you have any mixed emotions today?
You know what? When they play against each other, they just want to do well for their team. So I'm sure it's the same with Bobby. We have the same friends at home in Fresno, and I know they're all watching right now, and just want them to do their best, and hopefully the Giants win.
Well, thank you very much. She's a very competitive player. She went to the College World Series twice in '84 and '87 as a pitcher for Fresno State. Gentlemen.
And Laurie, an All-American softball pitcher, Fresno State, who again had more wins and strikeouts than her husband Mark did when he pitched on the baseball team there. And of course, she's had 2 liver transplants, February of '98, and then required and received another one in early June of this year. And seems like she's doing pretty well, all things considered. Bobby Jones, the hitter, against his longtime friend Mark Gardner. This is the very first time that these two have ever faced each other in a big league game. Now, Mirabelli didn't know where it was at first, and he does not get it. Mirabelli had no idea where the ball was. And Jones, unlike Chipper Jones yesterday in Atlanta, did not seem to realize the ball had gotten away from the catcher. He immediately took off, and he made it.
There's a breaking ball in the dirt. It bounces away. And a good job by Bobby Jones to hustle down to first base.
So the strikeout and the wild pitch. Now the leadoff man, Timo Perez. Yesterday in Atlanta, the 6th inning, Chipper Jones struck out, and the ball had bounced off the glove and back to the backstop, and did not realize it. And only belatedly headed for first base, and the Cardinals' Carlos Hernandez was still able to throw him out by plenty. But for the Braves, that whole series went pretty much that way. Man, that was a shock. Not that the Cardinals won. We all knew they were well capable of beating anybody, but to beat the Braves and just thoroughly dominate them 3 out, that was astounding. 2-0 now to Timo Perez.
Well, Gardner's starting to dig a little hole here, because if Timo gets on, then you have Edgardo Alfonso, and he's, in my opinion, their toughest out at this point. He hits good pitching. There are a lot of hitters who can hit mediocre pitching. He can hit good pitching.
2-0. And that's up and away. 3-0 the count. Not only is Alfonso up next, then it's Piazza, then it's Ventura. All kinds of things could happen at this part of the Mets batting order right now.
Well, it's important that Gardner get out of this jam, because Dusty didn't pinch hit for him because he didn't want to go to the bullpen. And if he's forced him to go to the bullpen, it could be disastrous for the Giants.
3-1 now to Perez. Mark Gardner in his first playoff series game, although he pitched the one-game playoff against the Cubs 2 years ago. Got the call on that one. He bluffed the bunt, but you know, he kind of flexed his knees when he did, and I wonder if that might have worked against him.
Pitchers are used to throwing to guys standing still in the batter's box, so you see what Timo Perez does. He wants to move around, so he's a moving target, and that may have hurt him on the pitch call.
Perez has been caught out on strikes and has fouled out to first in this game. 1 out, 1 on. Jones is running down the right field line. Extra bases. Burks has to chase. Jones will be held at third by Cookie Rojas. A double for Perez.
And you have to give Bobby Valentine some credit. I told you he's going to put men in motion. He's going to put pressure on the Giants defense, and he does that with a pitcher. He starts the pitcher, high fastball in, and Timo Perez rips it down the right field line. And you see Bobby Jones is running. The Giants are pretty lucky here that the soft outfield allowed Burt to get over and hold Bobby Jones at third base. And the Giants are going to have to play the infield in. And this is a tough position to bring it in with a guy like Alfonso at the plate.
Alfonso is flying to right and struck out. Now Aurelia and Kent up the middle move back to halfway.
And that's where they should be. And
way inside. 1 ball, no strikes.
I also think Miller should be back further, because anything in front of him, he can charge and get Bobby Jones at the plate. You have a slow runner at third. You don't have to play the infield all the way in. There you see Miller. I think he should move back a little bit too. You cover as much ground as you can, because the pitcher doesn't run that well.
1 ball to no strikes. Curveball. 2-0.
And I understand what Gardner's doing. As I said before, I think Alfonso's the most dangerous hitter on this team at this point. If you make good pitches, he can still handle them. And what he's looking at, he's trying to get Alfonso to chase something. If not, then you do set up a double play. The unfortunate part is you'll have Mike Piazza at the plate.
This all started with a strikeout of the pitcher, Bobby Jones. He's at third base. He came after him with a fastball, and Alfonso was late on it, fouling it off to the right. 2 balls and a strike. You saw Doug Henry, the right-hander, Alan Embry, the left-hander, up in the Giants bullpen. I mean, this may be the game and the season. The Giants' hopes for extending that season right here in this inning. Two and 1 to Alfonso. 1 hit in 14 at-bats lifetime against Gardner. And the curveball foul and out of play again. Piazza, the man on deck, has had great success against Gardner in the past.
But on any given occasion, he can hit a ground ball for you, and that ground ball will get you out of the inning.
I mean, if you get this guy out, you still have to get Piazza out.
Right. That's the point. Now you get along. That's the way I think. You try to get out of the jam by getting 1 ground ball. Here you have to get 2 guys out.
Alfonso, the big hit last night in the 8th inning to tie the game.
I think that's a smart pitch right there from Gardner. And the reason I say that is because now Alfonso doesn't know exactly what he's going to do. He knows that it's 3-2, but what he can do now is come with a curveball or another fastball. Hitters tend to think more 3-2 than they do 2-2. 2-2 you just hit. 3-2 you think, well, is he going to walk me? Is he scared? Is he going to try to throw a curveball and risk walking me? Or is he going to come after me with a fastball?
Well, now we'll find out. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 on. The sidearm fastball fouled back to the screen. Gave him a little different arm angle that time.
And that was good. Again, that 2-2 pitch, in my opinion, was a very good pitch to throw. Because right now, Edgardo doesn't know if he's going to come curveball. He doesn't know if he's going to come fastball. So he drops down, shows him a different look. And Edgardo stays in there, though, and he fouls it back.
Even fooled our cameraman a little bit with the different release point there. Dropping down out of our camera frame.
I don't think you can throw him another fastball here. I think you have to go with a breaking ball here.
Jones at third, Perez at second. Fastball.
He got it inside off the plate. I still think you had to throw him a curveball there because that was the only way you could get him to chase something. And you see Edgardo's upset because he did chase that pitch because he thought it was ball 4. I think you have to rely on him chasing a pitch out of the strike zone. And he's more likely to chase the curveball out of the strike zone than anything else.
The Mets lead 2-0. They have runners at second and third, 1 out. The curve. He hung it. Bernard back. He can't get it. He'll have to chase it. Bernard misjudged that ball. And 2 runs will score. 4-0 Mets.
I never want to see Edgardo Alfonso up there if I'm the opposing player, a manager. This guy is, I mean, we said it all the time, he's just a good hitter. He is just hard to fool. I think you had to throw him a curveball down and away, out of the strike zone. If he chased it, okay. If you walk him now, you try to get Piazza to hit into a double play. But this guy is just too good a hitter. I mean, he can handle any pitch. I mean, he can handle a pitch down and away, he can handle a pitch up and in. I have not seen an area of the plate that he doesn't handle well.
He continues to deliver big hits in this series.
And you definitely can't make a mistake and hang a pitch on him, and he did that. You see Gardner's mad because he hung it. They had the right idea. It was supposed to be a breaking ball down and away. But I just can't, again, it's just my opinion. I just can't have Edgardo Alfonso beat me every day.
Well, Dave Righetti going on to talk to Mark Gardner, and then the pitching change made. Dusty Baker invariably makes that move himself, but this time the pitching coach did. We'll be back. Mets 4, Giants nothing. Mark Gardner left in to hit for himself with the bases loaded in the first half of this inning, and now unable to get out of the last of the 5th.
Well, this ball is hitting the gap in the left center field. Bernard actually started across first. I don't think he could have caught it anyway because that ball's hit so far away from him. And 2 runs scored. Just that's, you know, I said this at the beginning of the telecast. I said it at the beginning of our open. You do not let Edgardo Alfonso beat you. He's their best hitter at this point. And I know Mike Piazza, you're afraid of him, but Edgardo Alfonso is the one that's swinging the bat. And there you see Doug Henry. He's been brought on. Henry pitched in last night's ball game. Just about every Giant pitcher in the bullpen did.
He threw 18 pitches last night. Piazza the hitter. But on the other hand, and obviously Piazza has not been hitting in terms of driving in anybody in this whole series. Alfonso's been getting big hits every day. On the other hand, Dusty Baker sees Alfonso 1 for 14 lifetime against Gardner, and Piazza on deck, who's always worn Gardner out. So,
see, my theory on that is we've discussed before is that the regular season is one thing, the postseason is another thing. I mean, I think that you have to throw all percentages and things like that out the window, because guys that hit 200 in the regular season end up being heroes in the postseason. In a short series, anything can happen. Over the course of a season, a lot of at-bats, yes, these things matter. But in the course of 5 days and 1 at-bat or 1 game, I don't look at those numbers personally.
Piazza high in the air. Center field. Bernard back a few steps. Bluffing from second. Alfonso, but not going anywhere. So Piazza is retired. Out number 2.
And it's
the third baseman.
Dave Wallace had some comments for Bobby Jones, his pitcher, when he got back to the dugout a while ago.
You have plenty of time. Get your breath. Take a breather after running and stuff.
John, you mentioned Piazza, somebody 1 for 14. As my theory is that 14 at bats is really not enough to gauge anything. But I don't know. Look, I think you have to do a lot of things differently in the postseason than you do the regular season. Anybody that tells you that the game is the same in the postseason as it is in the regular season, they've really never won anything.
And I'm not disagreeing with you.
No, but
what I'm saying is, that I believe, because what you're saying makes so much sense. The question is, well, why did he pitch to Alfonso? I'm giving those numbers saying, well, here may be the reason.
No, and and that is a good reason, because a lot of people believe in those numbers, and that's good. I just have seen too much of Edgardo Alfonso myself, I guess, over the last few years. In the postseason last year against the Braves and playing, big-time baseball this year. So I'm just a fan of his. I think he's a really good player.
Well, going back to game 2, it was Alfonso hit the 2-run homer against Felix Rodriguez in the 9th inning to extend their lead to 4-1, which subsequently they would not have been able to win that game without those extra 2 runs, because Snow's 3-run homer in the last of the inning tied it. Then last night they brought in Rod Nen. I mean, such was Dusty's respect for Alfonso. He brought in his closer in the 8th inning, and Alfonso still got to Nen for a double to tie that game, without which the Mets would not have gone to extra innings, where they eventually won it when Benny Agbayani hit the big fly. And here is Benny, the Hawaiian Nightmare. The strike caught on the outside. It's 0-1 to Agbayani. So for Dusty, had he known that Gardner was going to give it up, surely he would have pinch hit for Gardner in the first half of the inning.
I think if there's something wrong with him, is the problem. If something was wrong, then someone needed to tell Dusty, or he needed to know.
Yeah, because it was Dave Righetti, the pitching coach, went to the mound. Powered it by him, 0-2 the count. Dusty always makes pitching changes himself. Now Bobby Valentine never goes out.
Right.
Dave Wallace makes pitching changes, talks to the pitcher, whatever. He's the one who goes out. Is Dave. But when it's a change, Dusty goes out. And it was very unusual to see Righetti go to the mound and then make the change. So Gardner is gone in what could be his final game as a Giant. 38 years old. His contract expires at the end of this year. Bernard, the ball knuckling a bit. He reaches down and makes a knee-high catch. But the Mets, on a strikeout of Bobby Jones, a ball in the dirt. That's the start of a 2-run rally. They lead by 4. Top of the 6th inning, the Mets leading 2-1 in the best of 5 and leading this game. What they're hoping will be the clinching game in this series, 4-0, as the Giants come up. Edgardo Alfonso again delivering a crippling hit for the Mets, as he has done now in each of the last 3 games against the Giants. And Mark Gardner. From Gardner, really a tale of 2 strikeouts, Joe. Neither one ended up being a strikeout, or at least being an out. He thought he had Piazza struck out to end the 1st inning. Did not get the call. That ended up being a walk in front of Ventura's 2-run homer. Then he had Jones struck out on a ball in the dirt. Got away from Mirabelli. He didn't know where it was, and Jones ended up reaching. And that was the beginning of another 2-run Mets rally, culminating in the 2-run double on a hanging curveball to Edgardo Alfonso. Oh, big dropping curveball. And Bernard, who's only been on base twice in this series, quickly behind in the count, 0-2. 1 hit in 12 at bats for the Giants leadoff man in this series. Wow. 1 away. The 5th strikeout for Bobby Jones. And Bernard is totally confused at this point. Now, if you've tuned in looking for the senior PGA golf, it is over on ESPN2. The Transamerica from Silverado Resort in Napa, California, over on ESPN2 right now. Here's Bill Miller. He's 0 for 2. In fact, the Giants' first 3 hitters in the order against Jones today, none of the 3 has reached base, but Art, Miller, and Bonds. Giants only have 1 hit in the game. That was Kent's leadoff double in the 5th. 1 ball and 1 strike to Miller.
The fact that Bobby Jones is pitching so well, everything else may be academic anyway, John, with all the other things that have gone on here. And especially, I think the 5th inning obviously is very key in the top half and the bottom half.
Going back is Payton. Out number 2. Well, this was the 2-2 pitch to Alfonso Joe in that 5th inning at bat. The high fastball, but not the fastball so much here, but what Gardner's reaction afterward.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, nothing there that would make you indicate
that he was hurting,
or that he was indicating that he was hurting. And the big curveball, strike 1 to Barry Bonds.
See how much easier it is for Bobby Jones to throw strikes now. I mean, he knows that he's got a big cushion and his job is to throw strikes.
Bonds has struck out twice against Jones today. One heading back into the seats. And about 3 or 4 rows back. The Mets bullpen is busy just in case. Turk Wendell, a right-hander, getting ready.
John, the failure of the Giants to get the run home in the top half of the 5th inning, I think, really was the key point in this ball game. It changed the whole game around.
One and 2 to Bonds. Bonds with 1 hit in 13 at-bats after getting hits in his first 2 at-bats on Wednesday in San Francisco. He has not made contact against Jones today. 1 and 2 to Barry Bonds. If he could get aboard here, Jeff Kent would be next.
And the Giants there's a long way to go. I mean, this game is not over. But the Giants are definitely capable of scoring 4 runs, although it has been tough the last couple of days, but they definitely have the offense to get back in this ball game.
Threw him a changeup. 2 and 2 to Bonds. Jones struck him out on a fastball up around his shoulders in the 1st inning and struck him out looking in the 4th inning. The curveball. Out into left field, at the edge of the warning track, Agbayani. All right.
Good to know anyway.
Yeah.
Especially good for Mark.
Jay Payton against Doug Henry. Base hit. And Joe, you were talking about the Giants not getting that run in the 5th inning. J.T. Snow was up with 1 out. Kent at 3rd. The infield was back. A ground ball could have scored a run.
And here's a 3-0 pitch. I thought he would be hitting 3-0. He took it. Here's a 3-1 pitch. Not bad pitches, but Snow took the walk and the Giants did not score a run. I think in that situation, if you hit a ground ball, just put the ball in play, it's a 2-1 ball game, and there's a big difference in the way that things go after that, once you get back in the ball game.
Now Zeal, the hitter, he has grounded out to 3rd. And then Kent made a brilliant play to get him with 2 men on and 2 men out in the 4th inning. Payton, who has pretty good speed over at first base, although not much success as a base stealer. 5 steals and thrown out 11 times in the season. Snow on the bag with him. So it goes for Zeal right now. 0-1 the count to Todd Zeal. Mike Bordick on deck. 4-0. The Mets are leading in the last of the 6th inning. And Bobby Jones, Joe, I mean, this guy went from the All-Star game 1997. He had a poor second half of that year, and his career seems to have been going downhill ever since, until this year in June he went to the minor leagues. But now here he is in the postseason, pitching the game when the Mets are hoping to clinch this series, and he's got a 1-hit shutout going through 6. Now that is a roller coaster of a year.
Well, actually, he has been able to keep the Giants off balance the entire ball game. Tailing fastball, running fastball, changeup, and a real slow curveball. But he's thrown the ball very well, and that you have to give him a lot of credit.
That's foul. 0-2 the count.
A lot of, the Giants maybe they're not swinging the bats as well as they did during the regular season, but this guy's throwing the ball well enough to keep them off balance, and he's been able to keep everybody confused, including Barry Bonds. I mean, everyone is confused exactly. It's like they're guessing, and they're guessing wrong. That's what it appears.
Yeah, well, we saw it in the first half of this inning. Marvin Bedard leading it off, swung at a big curveball. It dropped about 4 feet, and then took a fastball right down the middle. It's strike 3. 0-2 the count to Zeal. A ball and 2 strikes. Henry, a one-time closer in the major leagues, and one-time a closer for the Mets. He went to Arizona State, and he was a teammate in college of Barry Bonds. He grew up in the Bay Area in Hayward, California, and was a Giants fan for a long, long time. Picked up by the Giants in midseason from the Houston Astros. There's Mookie Wilson over there, the first base coach for the Mets. Mookie used to make things happen on the base paths. There's Mookie. And his nephew, Preston Wilson, has become quite a slugger there for the Florida Marlins. That slider fouled away. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Zeal. Well, there are decisions here, and I'm sure if this score holds up, there will be much made of Dusty not pinch hitting for Gardner in the 5th inning, although it's a pretty easy call after you see Gardner get knocked out in the last half of the same inning.
I think it was more of a question of his bullpen and how much he had down there.
So they worked 7 innings out of the bullpen last night. Had that not been the case, maybe he would have pinch hit for Gardner.
And I'm not. It's one of those calls that you're just not sure. I mean, it may have been the right move to make to pinch hit for him, and then again, it may not. I mean, it's not an easy decision, but that's why managers get the big bucks to make those decisions. Like I said, I'm more concerned with the 3-0 pitch or the 3-1 pitch. That's what I'm concerned with. If he was allowed to hit 3-0, meaning JT Snow, or if he had to take sign off.
So for you, that's a bigger call. If JT was just taking because he decided to take, is one thing, but if it was Dusty who gave him the sign to take on 3-0,
then it's a different story.
You'd have an issue with that.
Yeah, well, then you have to pinch hit. I guess it's just a matter of, what actually happened there.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Zeal continues to battle it out here with Henry.
But again, as good as Bobby Jones is pitching, maybe 2 runs was enough. You never know. I mean, the way that he's pitching. And again, like I said before, the Giants have 9 outs left. They're just going to have to make the most of those 9 outs.
Well, when we saw the Giants in that playoff game in '98 at Wrigley Field for the wild card, Mark Gardner was the starting pitcher in that game. And Steve Troxell started that night for the Cubs, and he just destroyed the Giants. They pitch out with the runner going, and the tag by Aurelia, he's out. Jay Payton took off, and the Giants seem to know all about it as they pitch out, and Mirabelli throws him out at second.
Well, as I told you earlier in the ballgame, Bobby Valentine was going to try to put pressure on the defense, and especially with him being ahead. He takes off, and the Giants guessed right, or pitched out at the right time and threw him out at second base.
2-2 the count now to Zeal. 1 out, nobody on. There might have been an attempt to throw a splitter. 3-2 the count.
That was obviously not a hit and run with Zeal up in 2 strikes. But I mean, I guess he would have swung if, you know, if it had been a strike, it would have turned into a hit and run.
If you're Bobby Valentine, do you think that the Giants stole one of your signs right there?
You probably just, you know, knowing Bobby, he probably doesn't care.
And the slider. Zeal ends up getting a walk. Seemed like he was up there for about 20 minutes. Quite an at bat by Zeal. And there's the look
Shortstop.
near sunset at Manhattan. The East River in the foreground, the Hudson glimmering back, and that all is coming from the Budweiser blimp. An eye in the sky camera 1,000 feet above New York. And today's game, to all baseball fans, they'd like to pass along this Buds for you. Mike Bordick, the hitter. Cool night in New York. 52 degrees was the game time temperature. Mike Bordick has grounded a short twice in this game. 4-0. The Mets are leading in the last of the 6th inning. Yesterday in Atlanta, we saw the end of the Cardinals-Braves series, and the Braves really went rather quietly, and for the first time in recent memory, the Braves are not going to the League Championship Series. There's 4 RBIs for the Mets in this game, shoulder to shoulder. Alfonso, a 2-run double in the 5th. Ventura, a 2-run homer in the 1st. Zeal is back. Now Zeal is not quite as likely to run as was Peyton. He didn't have Peyton's speed.
But they might put a hit and run on instead of just instead of a straight steal.
Well, Bordick's a pretty good hit and run man.
Right.
1 ball, no strikes. But if they put on the hit and run sign and the Giants know about it, you don't think Bobby cares either. You don't think Bobby cares if they know that sign.
I think the Giants just guess right in the other situation. I think it's very difficult to get another team's signs in this day and age because they're so conscious of it. Because Bobby may not even be giving the signs. It could be one of his coaches on the bench relaying the sign to the third base coach.
Well, maybe they've stolen that guy's signs.
You know what happens a lot of times, you have a couple of guys sitting on the bench in the first 2 innings. One guy will give the signs, the second 2 another person will give the sign, and so forth and so on. That way it's very difficult to find out who is actually relaying the sign to the third base coach.
But now they could also steal him from the third base coach, right?
Correct.
Cookie Rojas, the Mets third base coach. Did he swing? No. First base umpire Rocky Rowe ruling in favor of Bordick. Well, now we got the running count, 2-1. There's Cookie. He was a pretty good middle infielder.
He's a very good middle infielder. Good hit and run man.
Used to play second for the Phillies, and his shortstop was Bobby Weiner. That was a pretty good double play combination. 2-1 to Bordick. We'll keep an eye on Zeal, who might be running. He's not running, and that's a foul out of play. 2 balls, 2 strikes to count to Mike Bordick. Bobby Jones is out on deck. This is the 44th anniversary of Don Larson pitching the perfect game in the 1956 World Series here in New York over at Yankee Stadium. There have been 952 postseason games played in the World Series and playoffs since. No hitters. Now it's 3-2. In fact, only 2 pitchers have had no hitters through 6 innings since Larson's perfect game. Jim Lonborg, game 2 of the '67 World Series. And Jerry Koosman of the Mets in game 2 of the '69 World Series against Baltimore. Don Larson made history 44 years ago today right here in this city. 3-2 the count. We'll keep an eye on Zeal. He is running now. And that's bounced foul off to the left. Zeal will go back. Well, if he's running on that last pitch, he's got to be running again, right?
Well, you would assume so. I think Bobby is, like I said, decided he's just going to keep pressure on the Giants defense as much as he possibly can, and I think that's a smart move.
Three and 2. He's running. Oh, look out. Check swing. Right over to the Mets dugout in a hurry. Dave Wallace. Dave, you okay? Heads up. They don't have one of those railings. A lot of the new ballparks now have a railing, a fence in front of the dugout to add a little protection. And some of their top pitching talent sitting right there in harm's way. Al Leiter was one of those guys. 3-2 the count. Zeal was running in the last 2 pitches. He's running again. Back of third, could be trouble. Bonds, he's there. Out number 2. Zeal back to first. Alvaro Martinez downstairs.
Well, John, it's a very difficult series for Cookie Rojas. Right before the series started, his mother Estela passed away at the age of 86. He missed the practice before game 1 in San Francisco. And when told that she lived a full life, he said, yes, but your mother's your mother, and when she passes away, it's always very difficult.
Well, we send along all of our sympathy and thoughts and prayers to Cookie Rojas and his family. Here's Bobby Jones now. He has struck out twice, but the second time he struck out, it started a 2-run rally. He swung at a pitch that was so bad that it bounced away from Doug Mirabelli. In fact, Mirabelli at first did not know where the ball was. By the time he recovered through the first, Jones was there. And that was the real key. I mean, Jones just took off right away. No hesitation.
Well, this has been Bobby Jones' day so far. He's only given up 1 base hit. That's a double to Jeff Kent. Other than that, he has kept the Giants under complete control.
Kent scheduled to lead off for the Giants in the next inning. Jones takes ball 1 from Doug Henry. The Mets trying to clinch the division title today. They've had 6 other home games in their history with a chance to clinch a postseason series, and won all but one of them. The only clinching opportunity in a postseason series that they had here that they did not win the game was in the League Championship Series 1973 against the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds won that game, went back to Cincinnati, and then lost in Cincinnati anyway. The Mets went to the World Series. I know Joe has no memory of that. I don't even bring it up to you, Joe, because you blocked those things out. It's a bad memory.
Well,
I'm sorry I brought it up.
No, the game wasn't in Cincinnati though. The final game, it was here. Game 5
in '73.
Yeah, we were here. The final game was here.
Oh, so you're saying I got?
No, the final game was here because the Mets fans tore down the clubhouse.
Oh, that's right.
I mean the dugout to get there.
All right.
73. They beat us in the final game here. I think it was Tom Seaver pitched that.
So
game,
they had
if I remember right.
2 chances to clinch in this ballpark and lost the first and won the next one.
That was that's it.
And did Pete Rose beat up Bud Harrelson in one of those games?
There was a fight out there at second base. Yes.
3-2 to Jones. Jones has been in a lot of trouble for the Giants today with his bat, considering he only had 2 hits in 44 at bats in the regular season. Behind second, Jeff Kent, the long throw to first.
Nice play.
So now we're going to the late innings. The Giants need 4 runs to stay alive in this game and in this series. Kent, Burks, and Snow coming up. 4-0. The Mets lead the Giants as we go to the top of the 7th inning now. The Giants with only 9 outs of life left to them. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Office of the Commissioner of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions may not be disseminated without express written consent. And check out MajorLeagueBaseball.com for the most complete baseball coverage on the internet.
Johnny, the Giants have 9 outs left. You do not have to get 4 runs here in the 7th inning, but you have to get something started to build your confidence, because if you do not get anything here, the closer you get to the end, the more pressure builds and everyone starts to swing for the fences or try to do too much. So you have to try to put a little.
Kent the third, and a nice pickup by Ventura. 1 away. So Kent, who had the only hit in the first 6 innings, that was a double leading off the 5th inning. He has gone on 1 pitch as we start the 7th.
Well, he hit it hard, but nice play there by Ventura, ranging far to his left. And Ventura gets the short hop. Nice play. And after that, it's very easy.
The multiple Gold Glove winner, Robin Ventura. So 1 down, and here is Ellis Burks. The Mets bullpen is busy, just in case. But Bobby Jones has not needed any help today. He's allowed only 1 hit. That was a fat-looking pitch, but it was a changeup. 0-1 to Burks. And he continues to have more off balance as Cook starts to heat up in the bullpen, a left-hander for the Mets.
And watching Jones, sometimes it looks like he just throws a batting practice fastball from the same motion that he throws his good fastball. So that makes it a changeup, but it makes it a very effective changeup.
The Giants bullpen also going. JT Snow on deck. 4-0 Mets. 7th inning. Another changeup, that's low. 1 ball, 1 strike to Burks. There's Alan Embry, a left-hander, warming up in the Giants bullpen. The pitcher's spot would be due up 6th in this inning. On the other hand, Henry has also worked an inning in 2/3 as it is. 2 managers. Bobby Valentine looking pretty strong to pull one off again in this division series. Consider last year the team with the best record in the National League was the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they'd had a great stretch run, and many really felt like they were out and out the best team in the National League last year. But the Mets beat them 3-1, clinching here in Game 4 on a dramatic home run by Todd Pratt. This year the Giants come in with the best record in the National League and a hot finish, and the Mets are about to perhaps do it again. 2-2 the count. Jones has not thrown Burks a fastball yet in this sequence. He is closing in on 100 pitches thrown for the game. Last year when the Mets got by that first round opponent, the Diamondbacks, they took on Atlanta. This year Atlanta is out. The Cardinals will play the winner of this series. 2-2 to Burks. Popped up. Shallow center. Jay Payton. Out number 2. And Jones has been doing this all day long. He's been making it look ridiculously easy.
Well, again, he has great control today. I think that's the key. He got some help in the first inning when the Giants hitters swung at the 3 high fastballs to get themselves out. But since that time, he's actually been on this corner, a little off the corner, puts a little on his fastball, takes a little off, and he always has that slow overhand curveball that seems to be in the back of all the hitters' minds.
JT Snow, a strike caught on the outside, and again he's just easing the ball through there.
But he's getting the corners. I mean, he is moving the ball in, out, up, and down. That's the key to his success today.
That one, Alfonso, plenty of time. 2 down, or rather 3 down. That's the inning, just like that. Game 4 of the National League Division Series, the New York Mets and the San Francisco Giants. Yesterday, the Cardinals clinched their division series to move on. Friday in the American League, the Mariners clinched their series over the White Sox to move on. Later tonight, out in Oakland, the Yankees and the Athletics in their 5th game, the deciding game. And for the Mets, they're hoping that this will be the deciding game. And they lead 4-0 as Alan Embry, a left-hander, comes on. Leadoff man Timo Perez, a swinging bunt. Aurelia, a wild throw, a forced error.
I'm not sure that he was going to get him, John. I know he did. He rushed it. And I tell you what, this Timo Perez can fly. And that's why you try to get a swinging bunt. He wants to chop this ball, make it bounce 2 or 3 times. See, Aurelia gets up and fires. Let's see where Timo is when the ball gets there. No, he was out. He would have been out. But this, he just wants to chop it. Matty Alou used to do this all the time. Just chop it to shortstop, but he hit it a little too sharply. But he still rushes Aurelia, and his throw is up the line.
Well, they're going to score that an error. But, Joe, I think that Timo should get the benefit of the doubt. Had Aurelia not hurried the throw, if he had taken that extra step to really set himself, Timo would have beaten it out. Edgardo Alfonso to the big part of the ballpark, Marvin Bernard. And Alfonso is gone on 1 pitch. But Edgardo had the big hit, the backbreaker there in the 5th inning, the 2-run double against Gardner. Now Piazza. What were we going to say there, Joe?
No, I think that what Timo did is a great play for a guy with a lot of speed. But he didn't chop it. He was trying to chop it to shortstop, but he hit it. And that's why Aurelia had a chance at all. But smart play by Timo.
The guy who used to do that with devastating effect on occasion was Willie Wilson when he was with Kansas City.
Matty Alou used to do it like a drag bunt to shortstop. He didn't like swing at it. He just kind of dragged the ball past the pitcher and the third baseman.
Tony Fernandez was pretty good at that too in his Toronto Blue Jay days. When he would bat left-handed, Tony is switch hitter. Mike Piazza, he has walked, fly deep to right center, and flied out to center again. He is 0 for 2.
But his presence in this Mets lineup is the reason that they pitched Edgardo Alfonso in the 5th inning when he did add 2 more runs to the Mets lead. So his presence is still felt by the Giants, and everyone's still afraid of him. And that's the way of a superstar. Sometimes you do not have to hit to have an impact on the ball game, and he definitely had an impact there, because I don't think Dusty would have pitched to Edgardo Alfonso had not been the fact that Mike Piazza was behind him.
Edgardo with Dave Robson, the pitching coach, talking about his swing, the mechanics of his swing. 1-1 to Piazza. I think he'd like to see that last pitch again. The one he just fouled back to the screen. Deep to right. Burke's back. He's there. And as the ball starts to slice away, he makes the catch. And that was very near the same pitch.
Tell you what, I just looked at my scorebook because I was, anticipating the Giants have 6 outs left. Do you know that Bobby Jones have retired the Giants in order in every inning except the 5th inning?
Well, I knew that.
Yeah, well, I just noticed. I thought maybe there'd be a walk someplace or error or something. You know what? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Every inning except the 5th inning. So maybe it's not so much what the Giants haven't done as what he has done. He gave them 1 shot at him, and they couldn't do anything with it.
There goes Timo, big jump, and the steal. Embry was a little bit remiss in keeping an eye on Perez. Count 1 ball and no strikes to Ventura.
And Timo just takes off, and he is very quick. His first couple of steps, he's up to full speed. And that's what a good base stealer, a guy that's going to steal bases, needs to do. After a couple of steps, you're at full speed. Some players that take 6 or 7 steps to get up to full speed, and they cannot become good base stealers. Well, with the exception of Willie Davis. It took him a little while, but once he got started, he was flying.
So that one exception.
Yeah, but normally a good base stealer gets up to full speed when its first 5 steps.
Maury Wills.
Maury Wills was in full speed after about 3 steps. And obviously the quicker you get to full speed, the better off you are. But some guys it just took a little longer, maybe because they're a little bigger, a little taller, and so forth.
Vince Coleman.
Vince took a little longer, yes. Davey Lopes was going pretty much full speed right away. Ricky Henderson didn't take him long.
2-0 the count. Broken bat. Snow waves off Embry. And that ends the inning. The Mets 4, the Giants nothing. 6 outs of life left for the Giants in this game and in their 2000 season. And Bobby Jones has just been superb. A one-hit shutout through 7 innings. And has had 6 3-up and 3-down innings in only 1 inning at the Giants, as Joe Morgan just discovered with a bit of investigative reporting through his own scorecard. This was not other people pointing this out to Joe. He ran this one down himself. Only in the 5th inning have the Giants even had anybody reach base. Aurelia has popped up and flied to shallow left. The Mets bullpen is busy just in case. John Franco, the left-hander, getting ready. Al Jackson, an original Mets left-handed pitcher, out there with him, the bullpen coach. Aurelia, a bloop into shallow right field. That is caught by Perez.
Timo is just happy to be here, and he has taken advantage of his playing time since he's been here. He got a key hit against the Giants in San Francisco. He's played well today. I mean, he looks like he's just what they needed. Some more speed in the outfield. And Derek Bell was playing there. He was injured in the first game there, and Timo has played very well since.
Now Felipe Crespo pinch hitting for Doug Mirabelli. A switch hitter. Crespo was the Giants' top pinch hitter in the regular season. Change up, down and away. Bobby Jones with a one-hit shutout going. Twice in his career he has had 3-hit shutouts. Broken bat. Perez after it again. Easy. 2 down. You know, Dave Wallace, the Mets pitching coach, wearing a microphone. Let's go down.
Get Franco going. He may end up going after Rios or Bernard. All right, Rios made the pinch hit. He's the 3rd hitter. Franco.
So that was the order a little while ago to get Franco up. Of course, we've already seen that Franco is in fact up. But Rios ends up not being the 3rd hit of the inning. And instead will be the right-handed batting Russ Davis, who comes out to pinch hit for the pitcher Alan Embry.
Well, Bobby Valentine had to answer a lot of questions about the fact that he was starting Bobby Jones, because a lot of people were wondering why he didn't start Rush, who was part of the 3 consecutive left-handers he started against the Giants here late in the season when they beat the Giants 3 games in a row. And a lot of people thought he would start the 3 left-handers because the Giants had struggled against left-handers, but he did not. He started Reed yesterday, and then he started Bobby Jones today. So you have to give Bobby Valentine credit for pushing the right buttons to this point.
Bobby Jones. Two down, nobody on. Change up too high. He threw only 12 pitches in the 6th inning. He had an 8-pitch 7th inning against the heart of the Giants batting order, and that was his 6th pitch of this inning. And the fans are starting to chant Bobby Jones, Bobby Jones. And after all these years, and after a brief trip to the minor leagues this year, he's an overnight sensation. And over toward the Giants dugout. 2-1 now to Russ Davis. Mark Gardner, a close friend of Bobby Jones. The two both from Fresno, California. But today, Bobby Jones has seize the moment. A guy who had only one complete game this year. That was against the Cardinals at the end of July. Davis hits it high, deep, but foul. Well up there into the third deck. 2-2 now to Russ Davis. 2 down in the 8th inning. Bobby Jones had had only one complete game since 1997. He has not had a shutout since 1997. Curveball popped up. Zeal. And that's 8 one-hit shutout innings for Bobby Jones. 7 perfect innings. The Giants are almost out of life. It's 4-0 Mets. Last night it was not Piazza, not Ventura, nor Alfonso, but Benny Agbayani who got the game-winning home run. The pride of Honolulu. Now Miguel Del Toro throws him a slider, the new right-hander in from the Giants bullpen, the 4th Giants pitcher of the game. Now today, in this possible clincher for the Mets, it's not been Hampton or Leiter or even Rick Reed. It's been Bobby Jones pitching one of the great games that you'll ever see in a division series, in a league championship series, a World Series, you name it. In October, it's been one of the great games ever seen. And that is going to be extra bases. Benny Agbayani saying mahalo once again. His 2nd hit of the game.
So another little slider just stays up right over the plate, and Benny rips it down the line. No chance for Bill Miller to make a play on this ball.
Agbayani retires. McEwing in to run for him.
You know, the Chicago White Sox had the best record in the American League, and they have been eliminated already by the Seattle Mariners. And if the Giants are not able to do something in the 9th, they had the best record in the National League, and they will be eliminated.
And that's a little bit rare, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I mean, normally one or the other usually gets to the playoff, to the series or the league championship series.
Well, 1997, the Cleveland-Florida World Series, neither of them had the best record. Payton into left field. Bonds. And there is one away. And again, the aerial views tonight have been courtesy of Budweiser and the Bud One airship, which travels throughout the year and appears at many exciting sporting events across the country. Budweiser, the official beer of Major League Baseball. By the way, the Giants' new catcher, remember Crespo hit from Mirabelli, is Bobby Escalera, with the new pitcher Miguel Del Toro. There's Escalera. The Mets are leading 4-0. Todd Zeal. Fastball, a strike. It all looks so easy when the pitching is strong. And rarely has it been stronger than the game that's been turned in so far tonight by Bobby Jones. He'll have to run the gauntlet one more time. The Giants have the top of their order up in the 9th inning. But he has not allowed any of those 3 to reach base. Bernard, the leadoff man, Miller, and even Barry Bonds, who is 0 for 3 tonight. Bonds due up 3rd in the 9th. Then Kent, Burks, and Snow. If they can get some people on base, they'll have their best hitters to give it their best shot. But there's the rub. Getting people on base. They've not been able to do it much tonight. Kent with the only hit, a double in the 5th inning. On the inside, 1-2 now to Zeal. And now Escalera is going to go out and talk to Del Toro. Del Toro from Mexico does not speak much English. Escalera of Cuban heritage and a native of South Florida, and he speaks Spanish fluently. Sports Center right after the game. Stay tuned for that. The full day in sports. All the highlights on Sports Center, including the reports from here after the game. Then at 7:30 NFL primetime scores and highlights. Chris Berman and Tom Jackson. And then tonight, the Sunday night NFL matchup, the Baltimore Ravens and the Jacksonville Jaguars. 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 Pacific on ESPN. Dusty Baker. The Giants have had some excellent years under Dusty, but they have not been able to solve the riddle of postseason play. They were swept by the Marlins in '97 as Zeal goes down on strikes, out number 2. And now, despite having the best record in the league here, Joe, this would be a real bitter disappointment for Dusty and the Giants to be eliminated just like that after their great regular season.
Well, I think it's a bitter disappointment for a couple of reasons. This is the best Giants team that they've had in San Francisco in a long time, and they played well, and on top of that, they won the first game of this series. And if they lose today, that means they would have lost 3 in a row after such a good start.
Levan Hernandez won that first one at Pacific Bell Park. Two down, runner at second. Bordick hit by that one. And now Bobby Jones will come up. The fans booing the fact that Bordick got hit, but now it will change quickly. You go back to 1997, Bobby Jones not only was an all-star, he was the Mets' best pitcher, a 15-game winner on a Mets team that was really not a real strong team.
He was won 15 and lost 7 that year. In fact, he went 10-3 down the stretch.
Tonight in his first postseason game, he was not even on the roster last year for the postseason. Fastball fouled right off the mask of Bobby Escalera. Del Toro, who throws real hard. 0-1 the count. Ball, 1 strike. Jones is just a little over 100 pitches, so the pitch count is not an issue. At least you would not think so going into the 9th inning. Another foul off the catcher, Escalera. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Jones, 30 years old, from Fresno. One-time college pitcher of the year and a first-team All-American back in 1991. He was 16-2 in college that year. His team went to the College World Series and finished in 5th place. He's down on strikes, but now he'll go back, perhaps for a rendezvous with destiny. And Barry Bonds will get one last chance to try and turn around his postseason fortunes. 4-0 Mets. Shea Stadium, New York. The Mets are hoping that their journey is about to continue in October baseball. And for the San Francisco Giants, who came in a somewhat desperate situation, and it's gotten acute now as Bobby Jones takes a 1-hit shutout into the 9th inning. And the fans at Shea are on their feet as the inning begins. Marvin Bernard, a strike. And Bernard, 1 hit in 13 at-bats in the series. They've kept him off base throughout the series. The curveball. And quickly, it is 0-2. The only hit of the day for the Giants in the 5th inning by Jeff Kent. There was no question that it was a hit, but it almost was caught by Robin Ventura. Two strikes the count. That was the 112th pitch thrown by Jones.
If you're the Giants, you have to think back to what Yogi Berra said. It's never over till it's over. Keep working and keep trying to get some runners on base. Your goal here should be to try to get the tying run to the plate. And do not worry about anything else. Just try to get the tying run to the plate.
The Mets bullpen is busy just in case. Remember, Jones had only 1 complete game during the regular season. His only complete game in the last 3 seasons. That was against the St. Louis Cardinals, which is at this point, I guess, a bit ironic. He pitched a 4-hitter. A 1-hit shutout into the 9th inning so far tonight. Zeal. Jones with the putout. 1 away. And he's still making it look easy. There has rarely been a hard hit ball by the Giants tonight.
There have only been 2 balls hit hard. One by Jeff Kent for the base hit and a line out by J.T. Snow. And actually J.T. Snow hit a pretty sharply hit ground ball to the right side in another at bat. So maybe 3 hard hit balls the entire ball game.
Bill Miller 0 for 3. To second. Alfonso. 2 gone. And it all goes to the shoulders of Barry Bonds. Bonds with 494 career home runs, 17th on the all-time list, but never to a World Series. To center, Payton. And Bobby Jones has done it. A 1-hit shutout. A masterpiece. And the Mets have defeated the Giants. And they are heading for St. Louis. It was Barry Bonds, whose postseason failures have been so much talked about, who not only makes the final out in fact, but symbolically, I guess. It was Barry Bonds who goes down 0 for 4 in this final game as Bobby Jones pitches a 1-hitter. The guy, I'm sure, Joe, they were hoping if he could just give them 5 or 6 strong innings, they'd take it.
That's exactly, I'm sure that's what Bobby was looking for, to get him a strong 5 or 6 innings and give him the lead, and he figured he could take it home from there. Well, he did better than that. I don't think I've ever seen a game pitch this well other than a perfect game. I mean, he went 8 of the 9 innings, he retired the Giants in order, 1, 2, 3. So he was almost perfect.
Hail the conquering heroes at Shea Stadium.
And
this is just the first step of their journey, which now will take them to St. Louis and a very strong and a very hot St. Louis Cardinal Ball Club.
And the fact that Mike Piazza didn't hit doesn't matter now, because he gets another chance to start all over in the League Championship Series. So that's what winning is all about. It doesn't matter who gets the base hit, but they had one hero, and that guy was Edgardo Alfonso, as far as I'm concerned, this entire series. He was the hero, and today it was Bobby Jones adding along with Edgardo.
Well, on the 44th anniversary of Don Larson's perfect game right here in New York, the only postseason no-hitter, Bobby Jones was perfect in 8 of the 9 innings, a one-hitter, the second in Division Series history. And Bobby Jones is down on the field. Alvaro Martin and a huge crowd of people with Bobby Jones.
Bobby,
and let's go to Alvaro.
You went to the All-Star game in '97, but to put your team in the second round today in a complete game must be very, very sweet. This is one of the highlights.
Yeah, it was. You know, I've had a tough year, and you know, to come through and you know, help my team to move on, it's a great feeling.
Now, you told me earlier in this season that for you the key was to be healthy. You obviously feel healthy. Your second half of the season was wonderful.
Well, I struggled early on in the year, and I knew I was better in the way I pitched, and I wanted to get back here because I knew the type of club we had. We can make it back into the playoffs, and I wanted to be a part of it.
This team thrives on close games. How does it feel like to be a pitcher with that kind of defense behind you?
You know, you can't say enough about this team. Early in the game, I mean, we're making great plays all around. They put some runs on the board, and you know, I just felt good out there. I felt like I can throw any of my pitches anytime, and I mixed it up.
What do you expect next series with St. Louis?
Well, you know, we go back in and celebrate this one, and you know, get ready for. It's not going to be easy. I mean, they play great baseball, and they're a great club. It's just one of those, you know, anything can happen in the playoffs, and you need to go hard and do the best you can.
Congratulations and good luck next series. Thank you. Back to John.
And for the Mets, the best postseason outing certainly since 1973, when John Matlack pitched a two-hitter against the Cincinnati Reds. A one-hitter for Bobby Jones. In June to the minors, in October into the history books, the Mets have defeated the Giants, the team with the best record in the National League, and now they move on. Both the Braves and the Giants have been eliminated. Will it be a Subway Series? That's yet to be determined. The Yankees will have to win tonight in Oakland for that to happen. There certainly will not be a Babe Ruth series. The New York Mets win 3 in a row. They are the champions of this division series. Now this is John Miller for Joe Morgan and Alvaro Martin. Thanks for tuning in, and good night from Shea Stadium.